see them.
Recording started.
Yeah, I think we can start. The recording has started.
Sure, let me just share the screen. Just 1 minute.
Yeah, yeah. I can see the screen, Shweta. I think you were sharing the document, right? Yes.
Yeah, let's begin now.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Today we have Aditi and her mother Shweta with us. So the layout of this call would be like for the first half an hour, Aditi would be answering the questions that were sent to her. She'll be typing it out, and then we will move on to talk to Shweta for a while. So I have the list of questions here. I'll read them one by one, and Aditi will start typing. So Aditi, good morning. Thank you so much for being here with us. So we have about 7 questions, and you would be answering. You said 5 of them. So the first one is, what is the motivation for writing the blogs and books? Sure. I just while she's typing, I will just say a few things about Aditi. Aditi is 18-year-old. She is an AAC user. She is non-speaking. She's also a very strong advocate for AAC. She uses AWAS and she also types to communicate. And she is now going to Ishanya Foundation for her schooling. And Shweta is a mother. She also has another daughter, Kriti, who is 6-year-old. They both are based in Bangalore, and Aditi has written. She is one of the co-authors of Talking Finger. She has also written 2 more books which are available on Amazon, and she is an award-winning author. And she also regularly writes blogs about her experiences, and they're all wonderful to read. So I'll be sharing about her books also briefly. So we just collected some questions for Aditi over the last week, and Aditi is answering all of them one by one. This is her typing.
The next question, every time she puts a line, that means she's done.
Oh, okay. Shall I read that out?
Yes, just a second.
Shweta?
Just give me a minute, please. Let me just share.
Maybe you could read it because a lot of people are actually joining the call now, so I've been admitting them. So the screen is kind of going haywire. So do you want to read it?
Sure, just give me a minute.
Yeah.
Let me unmute. I'm happy to be here and delighted to meet you all. Writing for me is much more than just a passion. It's my true voice and my way of connecting to the world around me. It's the biggest part of my identity. I write, therefore I am.
Lovely. It's really a lovely answer. Thank you. So we have one more question about Aditi's vocabulary. So it says, did you build your rich vocabulary by reading books? And the second question is, did you have difficulty with comprehension initially? Welcome everyone. Quite a few people joined in the last few minutes. So right now Aditi is typing her answers to some of the questions that we have asked. This is the second question. We just got done with the first one.
Shall I read that out?
Yes, please. Yes, Shweta.
Okay, just a second. I can just say that I'm a natural. Jokes apart, I absolutely enjoy reading lots of different genres. I use Audible for my reading and have always had a fancy for the written word. I've not had issues comprehending people or content, but I think people have had issues comprehending me, especially when I do not have a reliable mode to communicate and connect.
So, Shweta, just a follow up for you. So, even now, she prefers to listen to audiobooks than read them.
See, she reads pretty big books like Ayn Rand. She also reads AutHer's.
Okay.
So for her, it is much easier to use Audible to read them than to, visually sit and read a book, a physical
Oh,
book.
okay.
Sometimes she uses Kindle, but largely it's Audible.
Okay. Is that because of the intonation, you think?
No, she's a very auditory learner. That's the
Okay.
reason. Her
Okay.
strength is not the visual, but the auditory.
Oh, that's
So
nice.
pretty fat books, novels that have a lot of pages requires a lot more focus, right? So
Yes, yes.
for her it's much easier, and also she typically reads at the end of the day before going to bed. It's a way of calming her down. So hearing a story, hearing a book, hearing a novel in parts is her way of kind of relaxing at the end of the day. It's her way relaxing at the end of the day. So yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. So, to all those who joined in the last few minutes, we are talking to Aditi and Shweta. So, Aditi is answering all our questions, and we just finished the second question. We are on the third one. So, Aditi, who are your favorite authors, and which are your favorite books? I'm sure there are many.
I'll read that out.
Yes, yes.
I have a bunch, but if I have to list the absolute favorites, they would be PG Wodehouse, Ruskin Bond, and Salman Rushdie. I love The Mating Season by PG Wodehouse, Harun and the Sea of Stories by Salman Rushdie, and Looking for the Rainbow by Ruskin Bond.
Thank you, Aditi. So, does she? Do you have anything? Do you have any common interests, Shweta and Aditi? That's how she picks up all these different authors and books, or she has her own list of favorites.
I think, considering the fact that outside school, children is a lot lesser, right? As against, typical children who go to school and make friends. A lot of literature is what I introduced her to, honestly, because, I think they are so much more with us than typical children of their age, right? So when I realized that she was very fond of reading, it was not as if she went to a mainstream school where there was a library and she could pick up books or, pick up books from, say, discussions with her friends or whatever. So, I started introducing her to the kind of literature that I used to read of her when I was of her age. So that's how it began. I think it's very similar to what I used to read when I was of her age. I'd like to think of it that way.
Sure, that makes sense. Thank you. So, Aditi, the next one is: do you draw inspiration from your experiences to write the characters in your book? So, when you write your books, do you draw inspiration from your own experiences in life? Shweta, any problem with the internet? I think your screen froze. Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know when she was typing. I don't know where on a full screen. I don't know when we lost the network. Sorry about
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, she's
It's
finished
the
typing.
document is saved, right?
Yeah, yeah, of course it is. Let me
Okay.
just read out what she's
Yeah,
typed.
sure.
I love to observe people around me, and that forms the inspiration for the stories I write. I largely write slice of life tales. Some could be drawn from personal experience. The current novel that I'm working on is set in the backdrop of Kashmir. So, no personal experience there, just a lot of research. Just a request, since I'm on full screen, I won't realize when I lose network. Just ping me on WhatsApp.
Yeah, sure, sure.
Okay, so
I was
I'll
just about to do that.
okay, thanks. I
Yeah.
don't know when I
And
lost
this
you.
is, I'm holding your book, Aditi. I really, really like it. And I see the variety of stories you've written in this. Like you said, slice of life stories, and they're beautiful, all of them. Thank you so much. Um, Shweta, are you there?
Yes, I'm there. I'm just beginning to share my screen again because I lost that
Okay.
also. It looks like just a
Yeah,
moment. Yeah, I've shared screen now. I think we're good.
yes, yes.
So we can go ahead with the next question. Just a second. Yeah, you can go ahead with the question.
Yes. So I'll ask you about her research later on, Shweta. Maybe you can elaborate a little more on what is her writing process and what's the kind of research she does. But I just have one more question for Aditi. What are your hobbies and passions apart from writing?
Let me just read this out. Yeah. Reading. I love listening to music. Again, lots of different genres. And I enjoy watching rom-com movies. I love to travel and have an ever-expanding bucket list of places I want to visit. I enjoy my trips to the mountains the most.
That's a lot of input. Lovely, Aditi. I think it's rare to see that someone likes to travel so much because a lot of parents actually fear traveling to unknown places.
Just typed, that's me, one of a kind.
She truly is one of us. Thank you so much, Aditi, for joining us. And I'm really looking forward to your next book.
You want to finish that? Yes. Thank you for having me and have a good day.
Thank you, Aditi. Thank you for being so patient and answering all the questions in detail. And I loved all your answers. Thank you so much. Shweta, when is her next book coming up? Maybe you can add a little to that.
Let me just step out into another room and then we'll.
Yeah, sure. Yes.
Just a second. Let me also stop the screen sharing. So just give me a minute. Yeah, there we go. Sorry about that. We just thrive in structures. So yes, Aditi's actually working on her next novella. It's tentatively titled "Thus She Rose," and I think she's completed about 70% of it. Is my assumption. I need to ask her. Also, the novella that won the Best Manuscript Award is being published by Readomania. So that's a publisher who's again tied up with GK Paper, which basically initiated these awards. So that is gone into printing. The illustrations are done and it's gone into printing. And in about I suppose 2-3 weeks that should be in the market. I'll share the link to buy once it's out.
Sure, thanks. Actually, Shweta, we have a couple of questions that you would be taking on behalf of Aditi.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
The first one is.
As you can see, right, typing takes a lot longer than having the conversation. So, obviously we are limited by time. So, yeah.
Yes. So, we want to know what her communication journey has been like. When did she start using Navas? And when did she start getting into typing?
See, honestly, Aditi was diagnosed pretty early on. Her biggest thing being speech delay. She was diagnosed when she was under 3 years old, right? And initially we did the same thing that most parents would, and I'm talking of, late 2007, early 2008, when I think even in a city like Bangalore, the amount of awareness, the level of awareness, even among professionals, about how autism being a communication disorder is something so very different, and typical therapies around autism would also involve working differently, right? Even that awareness was very minimal in Bangalore. So she did undergo a lot of traditional speech therapy. There was in between a phase when ABA had caught on, and there was ABA happening as well. And I still remember that was a complete disaster because one of the ABA therapists told us that she's not talking because she doesn't want to talk. Because she doesn't want to make an effort to talk. So really, I mean, it was I don't know. For us, it was like maybe going from the frying pan into the fire, because one says she can't understand, the other says she understands everything but she can't talk. So clearly, we didn't have any good experience with the therapies. School was a different story altogether. She began going to a mainstream school, and that was a disaster. So we moved her into a smaller Montessori school where she settled in, and she kind of began learning. That was one of the earlier turning points when she was around 4.5 or 5. So we did introduce her to some AAC apps like Tippy Talk and all of that in between, but we did not use any of that consistently with her, because again, see, as parents, all of us have this thing that our child has to talk, right? It is a journey for us also to, I think, accept that speech and communication are two very different things, right? Your child needs a voice. I mean, whether she talks or she doesn't talk, I mean, you don't know. That's nature. That's how she's been created. But she needs a voice, right? We also had our journey, as a parent with that, and that also took time. But one of the things that we did pretty early on was, I think when she was 7 or probably 6 or 7 years old, we introduced her to spelling with Scrabble tiles. So basically, we would say read the lesson and then ask her questions. So she would respond to answers. If, for instance, we are doing, let's say, parts of a plant. So you ask her which is, the part that is below the soil. So she would spell out root using Scrabble tiles. So that is when I realized that maybe you could use this as a mode of communication, and then speech set in. So then, when you would ask her things, she would be able to give simple responses by spelling the responses out using Scrabble tiles, right? But none of this was very, we did not use that also as a consistent mode of communication. When she was 14 was when we took her to Ishania India Foundation, where she was introduced to AutHer's. And because she was somebody who could spell very well, she was somebody who could read, and she was somebody who could read quite well, with minimal, I think, working around her perception issues. She picked up the ability to type and communicate with AutHer's pretty soon. I think in about 3-4 months, she picked up the ability to type and communicate, and that was a huge turning point for us, because honestly, that was the first time. I mean, as parents, we always knew, right, that she knows a lot more than what she can express, but how much more, and where her interests lie. That for us was a revelation, because when she started responding using AWAS, so they would do these little, this was also around the time the pandemic began, so there would be these online classes, and they would have exercises where they would show her pictures and then ask her questions. So if for instance they're showing her a picture of a knight and a man standing outside the gate, so you wouldn't get obvious responses from her. You would get very creative responses, like Sam was getting very anxious. It was a dark, gloomy night. He was pacing up and down and waiting for somebody, just as an example, right? So that is when it kind of occurred to us that, maybe yes, we could explore this as an option for her. So this was in 2020 that it began, right? And for her, because she uses the keypad to type and communicate on Avas, transitioning into using a laptop also became easy, because it's the same QWERTY keypad that you use, right? And also because she uses this device as a MacBook Pro, which also in Avas you have the predictive, right? You type the first 2-3 alphabets, it throws out the predictive options like in our smartphone. So in MacBook Pro, above the keypad, there's a small touchscreen sensor. And it works the same way. So basically, if you have to type, for instance, against, okay, you type AGA, it will throw out 3 options, one of those will be against. So it makes your typing also a lot sooner and easier, right? And visually also it is, the transition was very seamless for her. And that is how it began. And some of what she wrote, honestly, we were also very I wouldn't say surprised, I think we were shocked. We didn't expect to see all of that. So that is when I think in 2021, it's when one of my very close friends, who was also one of the persons very early on, when Aditi was 6, she introduced her to spelling as a mode of communication. She suggested, why don't you start a blog? So Aditi started blogging in November 2021, and honestly, the kind of responses that she got for her blog, we were also like very surprised, and that just motivated her to write more and more, because she realized that's a way in which she can connect with people. So she started to write more and more, and then there were all these stories that she had written. Most of the stories and small stories, big thoughts, are what she's written, during her classes and stuff like that, or at home. So Swati Velal, who's the founder director of Ishanya, suggested, why don't we get these published? I mean, these are like really interesting stories. So that's how the whole thought came in. This was, I think, in 2021, end of 2021 again. But then we were not very successful finding the publishers for a first time writer. So but Aditi also used to contribute to Bukasmia. They have regular, every month they have topics. Children can write on those topics and submit, and they would publish. So they knew, about Aditi, and they had this program called Sprouts, which is a writing mentorship program, which, for many of them, it ends in their book being published. So that's when I approached Bukasmia. We waited, and we were fairly, not very successful in finding a publisher. So I think in 2022 is when I approached Bukasmia, and they were like, absolutely, why not? We would love to publish Aditi. So that's how Small Stories, Big Thoughts happened. So somewhere along, these are stories that she's written in late 2020, early 2021. So she also, sometime in 2021, began working on this novella with you right through, the one which won the award, right? So one day, in Times of India, there was this one page, because Times of India is one of the sponsors for the award. There was this one page thing inviting entries, and it said, this year we're having a new category called the Best Manuscript Award. So that was self-published in Kindle. So if you self-publish in Kindle without an ISBN, for these people, it's as good as a manuscript. So we just thought, why don't we really had no, expectations. It's a national level open thing. Nobody's going to make concessions for the fact that she's autistic or anything, right? We had absolutely no expectations, and we just saw the ad in the newspaper and we applied. And honestly, we were also very surprised that actually won the award, because it was open for all young. It's an award recognizing women's writing in India. So it was open for a lot of girls of that age group in India. So we were also quite surprised that it came. But rest is, and somewhere along Padma, I think this was 2022. June was when Padma got in touch with us for Talking Fingers, and so Aditi contributed her perspectives to Talking Fingers as well. So that was also a very good experience that we had. And, right. And now she's like, I want to be an author. I want to be a best-selling author. So
I actually read some of the stories in this book, and like she said, she says she observes people, and that's how she writes the stories. So that dispels a big myth about autism, that people are always in their own shell. They don't take note of what is happening around them. They're lost in their own world. So that's a big myth that we have about autism, right? What do you say about it?
I think we have a lot of myths about autism. This is just one of them. I honestly believe that a lot of research in the area of autism is just promoting the existing myths. I think we need to redirect efforts into research, autism research, by actually involving autistics in the research, by involving different kinds of autistics in the research, because autism is a very wide spectrum. So really what happens, I think, is that research, it just falls back on certain categories, right? Being able to respond quickly to whatever is being asked, being able to respond in a clinical setting, and a whole bunch of those categories. So I think what really happens when people do research is that the sample population that they pick up is not representative. They pick up sample population that they are easy working, collaborating with and working with, right? So on the basis, when the sample population itself is not representative, on the basis of whatever they have seen in sample population, they come up with a bunch of hypotheses, and those are the bunch of hypotheses that's existing about autism that we kind of are continuing to live with. But I think a lot of things like technology advancement, for instance, right? Technology, at least for Aditi, technology is her voice. I mean, she found her voice because of technology. right? 20 years ago, we did not have touchscreen technology. 25 years ago, we did not have touchscreen technology. So 25 years ago, what about a person who could not communicate reliably, verbally? That kind of a person would not have figured in any research at all, right? So you are going with those same assumptions that you had 20, 25 years ago, and you believe that is what autism is. I think, we need more actually autistic researchers doing research about autism, and we need to have a sample population that represents all of this huge spectrum that autism is, right? So, um, I think we need that to really, understand autism. I don't think as a society, we understand autism at all. I think we're just living with a whole bunch of outdated myths. And
Yeah.
sadly, I mean, I'm being the devil's advocate. I know I'm being very controversial out here, but sadly, it's those very same myths that therapists use, and they come with a lot of therapists come in with a very close-minded mentality, using those very same myths, and they assume this is what this child who comes to me is going to be, and that is the point from which they start to work with child, which ends up in, I think, not working very well for the therapist, not working very well for the child either. So yes, I mean, there's a lot that needs to be done. So yeah.
Yeah, true, very true. There is a question about sensory tolerance, Shweta. So it's when Aditi sits down to write, we notice that she looks at you quite often. I think for
Yes.
comfort or for just for
Because she's
validation.
somebody with a lot of social anxiety, right?
Yeah.
So if she's with a lot of people, she feels anxious. So a lot of that, I think is just a comforting factor. I think it's also something that is called as I don't know, they probably have a term for it called the body down, right? A lot of autistics, not just non-speaking autistics, I think even, autistics who can speak, for them to remain grounded and focused and sensorially comfortable, they just need somebody sitting next to them doing nothing. So basically, I am the somebody who sits next to Aditi doing nothing, especially in situations where which can induce social anxiety. So those kind of things, yes, definitely. I think they do require accommodations, and yeah, that's there. And Aditi is also somebody with a lot of hypersensitivities. So sensitivity towards noise. See, when very early, from very early on, she would know what is home, what is outside. I still remember when it just goes to prove that autism is not caused by vaccinations. Autism is not caused by sickness. It's not caused by anything. A whole bunch of lot of myths associated. I do not believe autism is caused by any of that. Autism is there in our children, when they are born. When Aditi was 2 months old, 2.5 months old, I still remember I'd taken her to my in-laws' place, and the minute the car entered the apartment complex, she started crying. Okay, so we were like, why does a 2.5 month old baby cry? You assume, the child has a stomach pain, you assume the child is hungry, you assume, but then she was just bawling her head off, right? We went inside, and then we tried to, feed her, we tried to like calm her down. She cried, 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 cried. And, we had to leave very early because she was very distressed and she was crying. And the minute our car stepped out of the apartment gate, she stopped crying. So she recognized, home and outside, and an anxiety for outside places when she was 2 months old. Autism exists in our children right from the time that they are born. She's somebody with a lot of sensory issues. She had issues with, combing her hair. She had issues with nail cut. She used to eat mashed food only for, the mashed goopy food. She used to eat that till she was 3 years old. We had to do a lot of occupational therapy and slowly introduce her to different textures. She can, by the time she was 5, she could pretty much eat everything the way you and I can. But it involved a lot of intensive hard work. She had so much of sensory issues on her feet that she would not, put her foot down in a surface that was rough. She would not use restrooms if the floor was wet. So, and she had so much of sensory issues in her hands as well. And she could not tolerate different textures of clothing. She couldn't tolerate certain buttons and all of that, hooks and all of that in her clothing. So for all of that to go, took a really long time actually. And even for us as parents, because we do not understand what is happening, right? I mean, this child just doesn't want to button her clothes. This is 2-year-old girl who's just crying because she doesn't want to button her clothes. clothes, who only wants zip in her clothes, and who only is willing to wear certain kind of footwear, who's not willing to remove her footwear if she has to, go to certain places. Like, for instance, we want to go to a temple, so we take her. You have to remove your footwear, but then you take her inside the temple. When she was a small child, when she was 3 or whatever, she would, insist that I carry her because she did not want to put her foot down inside the temple. So, things like that. Yes, I mean, I think it's been years of working on sensory issues consistently, and it doesn't go away completely. She still has a lot of hypersensitivities, but she works in spaces that are very calm and quiet, and she requires a lot of calm and quiet. And she also still has quite a bit of social anxiety that we are working on. So, I mean, that is something I think it lives with them, right? It's only about how you manage it. That's not going to go. Sadly, that's not going to go away at all. So.
Yes, yes, I agree. So now that she's able to communicate better, she's able to type and she's able to express her thoughts, has it been easy for her to tell her what is troubling her in the environment, what is really bothering her a lot?
Yes, and even for us as parents, I mean, I think it is a lot more easier now. Let me, give you an example. In the Omicron wave of COVID, all of us developed COVID. Okay, both my daughters did. Aditi had just one dose of the vaccine then. She developed COVID. So, she had cold, she had a lot of shivering and, fever and everything. We were all very worried. But, she was able to use the avaz and tell that, look, I'm just tired. My throat is not bothering me. I have a cold and I'm, so tired I don't feel like getting up, but I'm okay. So, we were so anxious, COVID being what it is. Like 10 times I would ask her, look, are you able to breathe? Are you able to say no? So she would type out and very clearly say, no, I'm fine, I'm able to breathe. So, we had a call with her doctor, obviously because we couldn't go out, right? So we had a call with her doctor, and, she clearly, on the video call, she clearly told her doctor also, I'm fine, I'm able to breathe. I'm just feeling very exhausted. And in 4-5 days, thankfully, the infection went. It wasn't, that very severe. But yeah, I mean, it's a big deal, right? See, growing up when she did not have a way of communication when she would be sick. I know this doctor of hers, her pediatrician, for like, I don't know, 15 years. My younger one also, I take, goes to the same doctor now. So she would cry when she was unwell, okay? We had no way of figuring out what was bothering her. Is it her stomach? Is it her throat? On a good day, she will point, but even that is so inconsistent, right? So we would take her to this doctor. This doctor would check every possible thing, check her throat, check her ears, check her nose, check her stomach, anything that can set off a small, like some things are obvious, cold and runny nose and nasal block and all of that, but some things are not that obvious, right? So she would check everything and then, it's like ruling out, it is not this, it is not this, it is not this, it must be this, let me give you medication for this. That's how she grew up, right? But now, if she's unwell, she sends she types out on a document whatever is bothering her. She WhatsApps it to the doctor. She's very comfortable using her phone. She WhatsApps it to the doctor. And when we go there, the doctor just checks her and asks her a couple of questions that she can respond to using ours, gets the right medication and comes back. So she's certainly come like, a long way.
And that she's really come a long way, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that is where we began, a child who was crying and you don't know why she's crying. So from there to here, I think it's been a huge journey. Of course, 18 years is a long time, but yeah, it's been a huge journey.
Very incredible journey. So actually, Aditi said she likes to travel a lot.
If it's the fact that she enjoys traveling, it doesn't trigger sensory issues, or it's the fact that we've been traveling very often with her from the time she's very young, or it's probably a combination of both the factors. She's very comfortable with air travel. She's very comfortable traveling in a car. She's very comfortable with going to different places. Like she loves going to mountains. We go to beaches. Or we even go to resorts that are in slightly wooded places and all of that stuff. She totally enjoys it. We've never had any issues. So she would not, again, I think it is her kind of autism, right? She's never had hyperactivity. She's never had hyperkinesis and those kind of things. Her kind of autism is being very withdrawn. So, she will just blank you out. Even now, if something is disturbing her, for instance, in the environment, right? She'll just shut her ears and her eyes and she'll sit like this. she will blank you out. She will not shout, she will not make noises, nor will she, get up and run away. Obviously, she's 18. But even when she was 4 or 5, that is the kinds of autism that she had. So I don't know which one of it is, compress. So which one of the reasons, or a combination of reasons, or it's just who she is and her autism. I don't know, but yeah, that's how it is.
Because a lot of parents actually find it very difficult to travel with their kids. That's why I wanted to just ask
No,
you.
absolutely, absolutely, and I really think we have to be more Bangalore airport is also signed into this initiative. So as soon as you enter, there's a number to which you can WhatsApp saying you are traveling with a person who has sensory issues. You're traveling with a person with an invisible disability, somebody who cannot, take the sensory things in the airport. So once you send a WhatsApp to that number, as soon as you enter the airport, there's a counter, right? They'll give you a lanyard like the one we wear in offices, right, with the sunflower on it. And the airport staff is trained to understand that if they see it, it's a person with sensory issues. So once you have that lanyard, you get a priority check-in. I mean, the staff just takes the person with the invisible disability plus one attendant, one adult. These straight take them in, check in their luggage. They put them to priority check-in, and then they, help them to go and wait at a very quiet place until it's time to board the flight. When it's time to board the flight, they get a priority boarding. The staff comes and helps them board, and they go. So I think it's very important that we have more initiatives like this, and people make use of those initiatives, because honestly, traveling with sensory issues can be very difficult.
Yes, yes. Ashish has a question about how you worked on her sensory issues. Do you want to add a little more to it, Ashish?
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the response. How exactly you work on a school from childhood? Yes, something I wanted to understand more about.
How are you working on her sensory issues? I think it's a continuous, lifelong thing, right? See, the thing with sensory issues is it changes as they are going through different phases in their life. So when Aditi, early on when Aditi was a small child, there were a lot of hypersensitivities in her hands, legs, her mouth area. She still has, she doesn't speak because making the speech sounds is very uncomfortable for her, right? So early on, I think a lot of occupational therapy helped. Working around, especially, and I think beginning early, right? She's somebody who used to eat only mashed food. Now the thing with, she used to eat mashed food because her mouth couldn't take the sensations of different kinds of food. So those are things you should begin working very, very early. Start your occupational therapy very early on. Those are the things you have to, I think, focus on getting it right by the time a child is 6. Luckily, at that point of time, I had a very good occupational therapist who used to come home and work with Aditi, and we used to follow up on that. So, things like scolding, things like nail cut, things like tolerating different textures of clothing, things like tolerating different textures of food, and self-help skills, the ability to feed themselves, the ability to dress themselves. All of this should be done by the time a child is 6 or 7. Even after that, they're going to have certain sensory issues that are not going to go away. A lot of that will surface when they go to school. So it's very important to find a school that is willing to accommodate for their sensory needs, right? They need to get a quieter part of the school where they can, like for somebody like Aditi who's very sensitive to noises, okay, needs to be in a quieter part of the school where she's not very disturbed. She doesn't like people coming close to her, so people need to maintain that distance from her. Very important to find schools that are understanding of these kind of things, right? And having said that, once if you've been able to establish all of this, it doesn't mean your battle is won, because puberty is like a huge challenge. All the sensory issues will sprout up all over again, So at that age, I think what works is regular exercise. What works is, giving them ways to engage themselves, because there is a lot of pent-up emotions. Their bodies are changing, and just like it is for neurotypical child, right? It's a change, and it's not going to be very easy to handle. So focusing on their diet. I'm not for any kind of diets. I only mean eating a balanced diet and less junk food. And make sure they get enough exercise. Like for Aditi, she has to go for a morning walk, she has to go for an evening walk, right? And then find some activity that interests them, so that it builds on their self-confidence, and they start to feel a little good about themselves and all of that. And at this stage where she is now, right, where she needs to address a lot of people, talk to a lot of people, she undergoes cognitive behavioral therapy to understand her own emotions, understand why is it that she's getting anxious, and if she's getting anxious, what are some of the strategies that she can do so she doesn't freeze off, right? Having said all of that, she would still, need some accommodations. She would still, need some time and practice to cope with it. So I think it is different at different stages, because the sensorial differences are going to remain throughout their life, right? You cannot change, you cannot take away the autism, you cannot take away the sensorial differences. But I think what you need to give them is a way to, deal with it, plus accommodate the environment in such a way that it becomes easier for them to deal with it. So I think that's about it. So yeah. Give them noise cancellation earphones. Okay, so if your child is going to a school, obviously at home there are quiet spaces that your child can have. When your child goes to a school, speak to the school, ask for them to allow him to wear noise cancellation earphones, right? If places like an assembly or games, or some specific times of the class when kids can get really noisy, triggers them off, the school should be able to accommodate, right? He gets to stay in the class, he gets to maintain his distance from the others, he needs those little accommodations. It doesn't cost heaven and earth to give those accommodations, no? So I think insist on those accommodations, and understand that even after all this, right, when your child has been exposed to things that are not comfortable for him or her sensorially, they're going to drain out. So when they come back home at the end of the day, they need to have a quiet space. If for an adolescent that means shutting her room door and being to herself, so be it, because she needs that to recover, right? So at home you can create those kind of spaces where they feel safe, secure, where they are not getting those constant inputs. See, I think it is about making accommodations, it is about balancing, right? If you cannot take a child who has noise hypersensitivity and throw him into a noisy environment. I mean, that's the worst you can do for any child. Least of all, a child who cannot even communicate after that what he's going through, right? So I don't think you should ever do that. So yeah.
Shweta, I have a question. When she was typing, I noted it.
There's a network connectivity issue. I'll keep it here. There's some network connectivity issue there. Keep it.
Thank you so much.
What is this? Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, ti.
Anand, can you check if it is recording, Anand? Don't get angry, Anand. I can't. That's why I'm asking.
Baba. It is.
Okay. So, does Aditi also have a communication partner in the school, Shwetha? Like someone else that she sits with and she's comfortable with? Yeah, makes sense, yes. I don't see any more questions. Ashish or anyone else, do you have any questions for Shwetha or Aditi?
Shwetha, thank you so much for taking time today, and thanks to Aditi for being so patient with us. Yeah. Sure. Yes, sure. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you everyone for joining today. Yeah. Bye. Anand? Anand, can you stop the recording, Anand? Anand? Can you stop and save the recording, please?